Leading at a Distance: Practical Lessons for Virtual Success by James M. Citrin and Darleen DeRosa. In 2020, virtual work shifted from being an oddity to being the new normal. Even before the COVID-19 pandemic, companies were growing more open to flexible working arrangements. In fields with a shortage of talent, and especially a shortage of diverse talent, remote work lets employers expand their field of applicants. By using Zoom, Teams, and other tech tools, organizations can tap into expertise across the globe, rather than only in their local markets. And work-from-home arrangements allow companies to spend less on office space. The pandemic forced many employers to embrace virtual work environments. What will happen next is unclear. Some 10% to 20% of workers never want to return to the office, but another cohort of about the same size is eager to get back. The rest are ready for a hybrid approach. Virtual work has made detecting and dealing with conflict and developing and mentoring team members most challenging. The transition to virtual work hasn't been entirely smooth. Many feel burned out by constant hours of online meetings. With work and home suddenly being the same place, workers find it difficult to separate their jobs from their personal lives. Many workers toil longer hours than ever. One study found that American workers put in millions of extra hours during the early phase of the pandemic. Workers have had to recalibrate their place in the corporate hierarchy. Remote workers fear their colleagues in the office are more likely to receive recognition, raises, and promotions. Some bosses remain skeptical that home workers stay focused. In addition, bringing on new employees in a remote environment is tricky. In particular, building camaraderie from afar is not easy. Trust is a crucial part of making the virtual model work. In traditional work environments, employees see each other daily. They engage in small talk, go to lunch, and hear stories about one another's personal lives. In remote environments, relationship-building moments are rare. Virtual organizations can develop trust problems. Virtual teams must rely heavily on task-based trust, which is the belief that team members will do their job. Telltale signs of low-trust workplaces include: no one talks about their personal lives. If virtual workers discuss only work, finding common ground or building relationships that thrive will be difficult. Personal conversations happen naturally in a shared environment, but are more difficult to foster in virtual settings. Managers must host regular team-building activities to tackle this problem. Clicks thrive. Silos are a hallmark of low-trust organizations. Managers must host regular meetings with programming that demonstrates how individual contributions support the broader team. Managers nag workers. Micromanagement is the default position of bosses who don't trust their workers. This problem is especially acute in virtual environments where managers don't see their people, so they feel compelled to check in more frequently. Conflicts fester. In toxic environments, workers don't address disagreements head-on. Instead, they talk about the conflict to everyone except the source of the conflict. Managers can take these steps to build trust. Gather in person. When circumstances allow, virtual teams should meet face-to-face. Host lunch and learn events. Gather the team virtually to share expertise or to talk about fun subjects, such as quirky hobbies. Be honest. Managers who speak truthfully, clearly, and transparently build an environment of trust. Praise wins. Highlighting successes boosts morale. Explain how a victory fits the team's broader priorities. Smaller teams perform better than larger groups. Successful virtual teams share certain traits, which you can identify if you study 3 factors: the composition of the team, its leadership, and the communication and training management provides. Smaller teams are more successful in virtual environments. Teams with 13 or more members are more likely to rate themselves as ineffective compared to smaller teams. Members of each team should belong to fewer additional teams. In many organizations, people find their time spread across so many teams that they lose focus. The longer team members have been together, the more effective their teams will be. When geographically distributed teams become too large, it is more difficult for their members to collaborate effectively. Sometimes, virtual team members should step away from their screens. Teams that meet in person within 90 days of the formation of their team perform better. Training is crucial. In a virtual environment, lack of training can spiral as workers seek ways to make up for their deficiencies. Successful bosses balance the needs of individual team members with the overall team's performance goals. The RAMP model offers a template for successful virtual teamwork. This acronym represents the 4 factors necessary for building high-performing virtual teams. The first is relationships. Elite teams foster an environment of collaboration and selfless effort devoted to achieving an overarching goal. The next factor is accountability. Strong teams face their shortcomings and mistakes head-on. Rather than making excuses, they stay accountable and find ways to address problems. When your team is virtual, the way in which you tackle and give airtime to relationships, accountability, motivation, and processes needs to be much more intentional. The next factor is motivation, the practice of instilling a sense of purpose and meaning in the team's work. Self-directed teams face a special challenge. Team members are responsible for holding one another accountable and for motivating themselves. And the last factor is process, how the team gets work done. This component of the RAMP model covers the team's goal and the individual roles and responsibilities that yield the end result. Ramping up relationships requires constant effort. To build relationships, team members must communicate. Slack and Microsoft Teams are common tools for keeping virtual team members in touch. Include a space within your online communications for users to chat about personal interests. Set up a channel on which people can discuss their pets, their passions, or the shows they binge watch. To take your team building technology a step further, try an app like Donut, which schedules team members for in-person meetings that wouldn't occur otherwise. One of the primary challenges faced by virtual teams is the lack of direct, face-to-face contact. To bridge the distance and create camaraderie among virtual teams, share videos of company meetings. This reminds isolated team members they belong to something bigger. Fun quizzes. Ask team members to share personal information such as which historical figure they'd have dinner with or the music they'd listen to on a long road trip. Photo contests. Have team members submit photos around a theme, such as Halloween costumes. Or open a Slack channel for team members to share images from their weekend activities. Pizza parties, happy hours, and other virtual gatherings. These informal sessions give team members an opportunity to talk about outside interests. And if some live in the same area, they can arrange face-to-face meetings, depending on their community's COVID precautions. A digital bonfire. This is a regular meeting of the entire company. Bring in a guest speaker, a leader from another industry, an athlete, or an expert on wellness or a professionally relevant topic. To motivate a virtual team, focus on the big picture. Individual employees in large companies can easily lose touch with the organization's broader goals. In the worst-case scenario, team members lose drive or passion. To give workers a sense of purpose, leaders must dig into what motivates each person on their teams. Leaders of virtual teams must link an individual's goals and values with the company's broader mission. If an employee's motives and values align more closely with the company's goals, they will be more resilient in the face of challenges because they know their work is important. To motivate virtual teams, brand the team, create a name, logo, or motto. This branding builds identity and shared pride. Recognize accomplishments. In each team meeting, highlight individual wins and overall team successes. Share those accolades with the broader company through emails or newsletters. Mix it up. Give plum assignments that are a change from the normal work routine. Spread these tasks evenly among team members. Ask for feedback. When you make decisions about new initiatives, include virtual team members in the research process. Follow 4 rules to onboard distributed workers successfully. Tightly choreograph each new employee's first week. Create a schedule for him or her, and assign a go-to contact for questions and problems. That applies to technology, too. Send a company laptop and phone before the employee's start date, and make sure the equipment features all the necessary software. The second rule of virtual onboarding is to arrange a robust mix of interactions with people throughout the organization. Working from home can feel isolating, but scheduling a number of meetings builds a foundation of strong relationships. In a virtual setting, You can't rely as much on the organic and spontaneous relationship building that happens in hallways, over lunches, and at office events. The third rule: explain everything. Spell out the company's culture and how things are done. No detail is too small. Explain mundane items like dress code, working hours, and expectations for etiquette on video conferences and messaging platforms. A culture buddy, a mentor for the onboarding process, can smooth the way. The fourth rule is to stress the big picture: the new hire's responsibilities, chances for advancement, and how he or she fits into the organization's broader mission. Keeping culture alive in a virtual environment demands constant attention. Executives worry about maintaining their corporate culture among a distributed workforce. A survey of bosses reported that 43% thought going virtual hurt their corporate culture. Only 20% saw remote work as a positive. Reinforcing the culture may seem particularly daunting to many organizations operating in a virtual environment. To keep your culture intact, embrace the new world at Nike. CEO John Donahoe responded to the new reality by conducting virtual company meetings in which thousands of employees join Zoom sessions. Workers interact with the boss and ask questions. The boss uses these meetings to reinforce company culture. Hire with cultural intention. If culture is important to you, consider who fits well within it. Leaders who want to make a transition to an innovation-based culture must embrace a new style of recruiting and hiring. Focus on meaning and innovation. The best way to spur excitement is to prioritize the work that excites your people. Host workshops and meetings around innovation or around inspiring guest speakers. Stress work-life balance. Make health and wellness a priority. Offer mental health days, yoga classes, and 5 p.m. exercise sessions to mark the end of the workday. Host virtual parties. A successful event requires planning and creativity. To boost participation and engagement, ask workers beforehand about the timing of the event and the theme. Prizes, costume contests, and group games raise the level of your virtual parties. The post-pandemic era won't look or feel like the pre-pandemic era. Virtual work is going to become more commonplace, and the labor economy will change in many ways. Overall, technology improvements will continue to shape the future of work and will make it easier to offset some of the drawbacks of not being together in person. A number of organizations, including Facebook, Twitter, and Zillow, quickly embraced virtual work. Others are keen on a hybrid model that lets workers come into the office sometimes. Dropbox offered Dropbox Studios, places where workers can gather and collaborate as they mostly work from home. One enduring fear about a hybrid model is that the workers who go into the office, even some of the time, will achieve greater visibility among their bosses and be viewed as higher performers than virtual workers who appear only in online meetings. That fear is probably justified. Absent a virtual water cooler, remote workers must be deliberate and intentional about scheduling remote FaceTime with their bosses. Takeaways. In 2020, virtual work shifted from being an oddity to being the new normal. Trust is a crucial part of making the virtual model work. Smaller teams perform better than larger groups. The RAMP model offers a template for successful virtual teamwork. Ramping up relationships requires constant effort. To motivate a virtual team, focus on the big picture. Follow 4 rules to onboard distributed workers successfully. Keeping culture alive in a virtual environment demands constant attention. The post-pandemic era won't look or feel like the pre-pandemic era. Please like, share, and subscribe for more videos. Thanks for watching.